Good morning, crafters. Hello. I am excited today because we are going to watercolor. So welcome to another installment of Heartfelt Creation Friday. And like I said, today we're going to do some watercoloring. And I have pulled out one of my favorite sets from a while ago, the Oakberry Lane. I love the little squirrels and I was in the mood for fall. So let's go ahead and change our camera view and see what we're going to paint today. All right, so here is our fall inspired card. I used some of the Oakberry Lane flowers and our acorn with I think of her as a grandma. I suppose she's mom or whoever, but the little pie baking squirrel on the inside. And I put a couple of the acorns over here. And on this one, I added a thank you. This happens to be a Pink Fresh Studio thank you, but we're going to do some different sentiments for today's card. So I love the way this one turned out, but I decided after some thinking that I would do it in some different colors just to kind of see what I liked best. So today we're going to use a little bit of more of a purple and green and see if we get. I was afraid that my little acorn house here kind of got lost in all the yellows and oranges, so I thought maybe on the purple and green that the acorn would stand out more. So we're going to make one that way and see what we think. So to make this card, I used the Stairway Garden, which gives you this piece right here. And today for this card, I cut it out of the Deluxe Chrome rather than the Deluxe Gold. Then I cut a piece of the scrap paper I had, and I cut that to, I believe it's 5.5 by 5.5 fits in there, but let me double check. There we go. Yes, 5.5. So it's a 5.5-inch square, fits right inside that eyelet square perfectly. Okay. Then for my next piece, instead of making it out of the gold like I did before, I made it out of a really dark, kind of a dark purple, dark bluish purple. And that is from the rounded window piece, and it is the doily piece right here. This is just, I would say if I had to pick an all-time favorite die, this might be one of them. I just think that one's so pretty and so useful. I really like it on a square card with the round center. I find myself doing this combination quite a bit. All right, and then in the Circle Basic Large set, the largest one makes a perfect circle to put inside here. So I made today's on a green background, kind of a pale green. And this is going to be our setting for our acorn house. Now I went ahead in advance and made up some of the flowers, and I'm not going to do that today. I'll kind of talk you through it. I made two of the same size. I colored them in a dark purple on the inside and then like cactus flower on the outside and did the edges. And then I used the leaves and just did the combination of emerald green and a vivid chartreuse, and then I just chose some little gray stamens to go on the inside, and these are the smallest size of the stamens, and I just made a handful. On my original card I did them in the Tangelo color and the goldenrod and sunset, and the leaves were the same. Okay, and like I think I said, but you always layer them up like size with like size if you want them to look like this. Okay, now let's watercolor. I am going to go ahead and get a piece of cardboard to put here just to protect my surface. I've got my water source here with my large rounded brush. It's not super large, but it's not a tiny one either. I've got my paper towel, and today I've already put my colors in a palette, and I'm using, instead of using the zigs, which give you just a paler, they're not quite as vibrant as the watercolors that come like this. And these are some Brutus Monroe ones that I have, and I also have some Concord in Ninth. And you just use the little eyedropper to drop a bit in your palette, and you can also get liquid watercolors like this at like Michael's or Hobby Lobby and places like that. And it's just it's kind of the same thing, but instead of a solid form, it's in a liquid form. And I'm going to go ahead and put my glasses on, and we're going to get started. And of course, I also have my paper towel. Now, I'm going to have to add some water to these just because I did them last night, and there we go. All right, okay. I'm going to start with this piece down here at the bottom. And when I do my acorns, I kind of like this bottom section to be darker and then this top section to be lighter. And let's see here. I have a couple. Here's a smaller one that I've done. So I'm going to kind of color this one in a similar fashion. It's just much bigger. So I'm going to go ahead and saturate my paper real well. Whoops. There was a little piece of green on my watercolor paper. I don't know where that came from. That's odd. Oh, I forgot to say, I stamped this image in VersaFine, and then I used a Ranger Gold embossing powder and embossed it. And that helps when you're watercoloring a big image like this. It kind of helps. You can do the sections that are side by side, and it helps hold the paint where you want it. So, especially when I'm doing it on a video, it just makes it less likely that I'll make a mistake. So I'm going to start with this darkest brown color, and I'm just going to add it right over here at the side. Oh boy, that was a lot. I'll have to definitely blend that out some. I'm going to go over this with a lighter color in a moment, so never fear, that doesn't bother me at all. Just going to go ahead and through here. I want it to be equally dark over on this side. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and let that sit for just a second. Now, if you really want to, you can hit to do it in between. You can use a heat gun and dry it a little, but you want to let it dry, because if you put, like if I go to this other brown color right now, it's going to mix and blend with this darker brown, and I don't want it to do that. I want it to kind of lay on top of. I don't necessarily want it to mix and make a second color or like a third color. Hopefully that makes sense, but I am going to use this color right here. Stir that up real well. And hopefully, yeah, that's pretty good. Mix that a little bit, because I want that to be darker over there in that corner. Of my yellow and blend that in. I added just a little bit of my lighter yellow color just to give kind of an undertone of lightness, because it's in the center where the light's going to hit. And whenever you're watercoloring, you really just move that water around until you feel like, sometimes you just let it wait and sit a little bit, and then you might come back and dab on some more colors. And there's no right or wrong. You just kind of have to play with it until you like it. So when in my colors, I have a red color, I have a really dark brown. That was that first color that I used. I believe it's called Mushroom. Then I have like a golden yellow color, a lighter brown that's kind of more like a sienna. It's got a lot of red tones to it, but it's a brown. This is kind of a very orangey brown. And then this is a little bit brighter red. And then over here is a color called Clover. Whoops, it's out of the picture. Clover. So sometimes I will take different ones and I'll mix them over here, or I'll take a little bit of it and really thin it down to get a different color, because these are my only colors that I have. I'm very limited in my color choices. So, all right, now I'm going to do the next biggest part here. And again, just go ahead and saturate my paper. I do have a little bit of brown coming over here, but that's not going to bother me. When I'm watercoloring, very little bothers me unless I, you know, like drop my paintbrush and put purple right in the middle of something that I just spent a long time painting or something. That bothers me, but most of the time I'm like, yeah, okay, it can be that color. All right. Now I'm going to start with this lighter color here, and I'm going to add it kind of up here in the center. I'm kind of tapping along the edges, and I'm hoping the water in the paper will move it on, you know, to move it around. It's not really moving all that much though. So are you all ready for fall? In Texas, it's always, we mentally get ready for fall, but the weather, of course, is still very much summer. I'm just adding some of this color in here darker down here on the bottom, and then letting it stay lighter as it goes up towards the top. And I am going to go ahead and add some of this medium tone, the one with more red in it. I'm going to take just a little bit of that and start mixing that in here as well. All right, I'm going to kind of just let that dry a little bit. And you know what? I did forget one area. I see. So I'm going to come back in with that orange color and do right in here, because it looks like I didn't see that. That's part of that same section. All right. There we go. All right. Oh, sorry, you may not be able to see. Okay, so I'm going to let that dry. And I think the next part I'm going to do are these windows. Okay, so to do these windows, I'm going to go ahead and wet them. Whoops. Pulled in just a little bit of brown from up there, but these are going to be brown as well, just the darker color. Okay, and I'm going to come in with this really dark brown. Oops. It's not black, it's a dark brown, but boy, it appears black next to those oranges and reds. I'm always kind of starting down at the base, letting it get lighter as it comes up. Pick up just a little bit more. So I had a very fun weekend last weekend. My granddaughters and my son and his wife, not just the granddaughters, came for a visit. And we always love when that can happen. My granddaughter Hazel is going to be 2 in December, and her little sister Rory is about 6.5 months old right now. So she's growing up entirely too fast. It's just flying by. I'm not complaining about how much I see them. I just, my heart wants to see them every day. So it's, I do get to see them fairly often though, as far as grandmas go. So I'm not complaining. I just would love to see them all the time. So, okay, I am going to color the wooden table the same, out of the same wood that the window frames are. And you might have noticed I didn't saturate my paper here. There's just so much small detail that I'm kind of just doing it with my paintbrush rather than going in and wetting it. See how that, whoops. Just darkening it up in there where the shadows are. All right, isn't that fun? I just love watercoloring. I can see I'm gonna have to add just a little bit of the yellow up in here, but I'm gonna wait a little bit before I do that. Now, you're gonna think I'm a little bit crazy, and maybe I am, but these windows, I didn't want them to be brown. I know that looking through the window they would appear brown, but I just thought that we had enough brown going on that I wanted a different color. So I'm going to come in with this gray, and we're gonna just lightly paint these that. And the way I got the gray is by taking this dark brown color and just really lightening it up, adding a lot of water to it. And I thinned it down and got this light gray color. And this is the same gray color that I used to paint my little squirrel in here. Because again, I just thought that was going to be too much brown. All right, it's coming together pretty nicely. All right, so the next thing I am going to do this little squirrel, and I'm going to go ahead and put some clear water on her. Some of that gray again over here, and I'm going to add just a little bit of this color to it. See if we can't get that just a little bit different color than our windows. All right. All right. There we go. All right. So she's a little bit different color than she was last time, but that's okay. I like the way it's darker down at the bottom, and she gets lighter as her tail comes up. This is where it gets really detailed, so it's best if you can, it's always easier to add more than it is to take away, so you always want to really control the amount of water that's on your brush. All right. I think I'm going to go ahead and let her sit, put a little bit of shadow down in there around her ears. All right, I think I like her. She's doing pretty good. We are moving right along. So I'm going to clean out my brush. Now you might have noticed right up here I have a little worm. Now I don't know if he'll show up or not, but I have this clover color. I have taken some and really let that, I added a lot of water to it, so it's just a little dab of the clover and a lot of water, and then I let it sit and it dried up, but I have that lighter color, and I've colored this little worm up here. Excuse my hair. All right, so I'm going to go back up here. I'm going to add just a little bit of water right here, and we're going to come in, I think, with this yellowy color. What have I got over here? Don't want to get it too yellow. We may or may not like this. Let's see. Yeah, I think it's going to be okay. Just going to let that kind of yellowy brown color mix in there. Yeah, I think that looks pretty good. Yeah, I really like that yellow shine right there in the middle. That's exactly what I was going for. Love that. All right. Next thing I'm going to do is the tops of the pies. So, whoops, that's too much water. Dab off my brush a little bit. And for the tops of the pies, I'm going to use a little bit of that yellow and a little bit of this brown and see if I can't get a little bit of a toasted pie look. We'll see. Ooh, still so much water in my brush. Okay. Just going really softly here. When you're doing these little bitty spots, you just have to be really careful with how much water is in your brush. I'm just going to hold that up. So is that focusing on it real well? I like the way it's coming out. We only have a few more colors to go. Now, if I was doing this and letting it completely dry in between, I'd come in here and add a little more little taps in there to give me, like, it's darker down at the bottom, you know, so you have a nice pie look. I don't know that I'll do that right this second, but overall it's looking very good. Okay, now in my original I put almost like a reddish background, a deep orange red in the background, like the inside of her acorn, but I think this time I'm going to add some green. We'll see if we like that, but we're going to go green this time. I'm just going to add a little bit of water. I was going to say clean water, but my water is looking a little bit yellow. Okay. Again, I'm going to take just a little bit and a little bit of the yellow. Very nice. Do you see how I did that? I took just a tap of the clover and just a tap of the yellow and made myself a kind of a limey green color to go in there. This is where having your image embossed really helps, because you know, I want to get right up next to her, but I don't want to turn my squirrel green. And if that wasn't embossed and she was still as wet as she is, she would definitely have green tones to her. So in my circle that she's going to go on, this is going to be the background, so I kind of like that color. It comes out, I think I like the look of that. So I'm just going to add a little bit heavier brush right down there at the bottom. Just some shadow down in there. And same on the other side. All right, I think that's looking pretty good. Okay. All right, so the final things are the red. I'm gonna make her little dress that she's wearing red, but I'm gonna let that kind of dry all around her before I do it. So I'm gonna come in with some of this green color, the clover. And again, I didn't like the dark green that I used before, so it's going to be darker than this, but not as dark as it was before. And can you see where I've mixed some up here? And I'm just going to add that down in here where the grass is. And when you do something like this, you just want to make sure that the part down here is completely dry, otherwise you will get it mixed up. Okay, the dye will, you know, fix that up. Now I don't know if you can see it, but there's actually two little daisies right down here, and before I made them red, but I think this time I'm going to just do them yellow. I felt like the red just stood out a little too much down in here. There we go. Before I move to the red, I'm also going to do the little butterfly up here. I'm going to do it yellow as well. All right, I think we're ready for red. Cleaning off my brush. And for this red, same thing, I'm going to pick it up with my brush rather than when I've colored her with markers, I have made her little apron like checkered. But for today, with watercolor, I'm just going to paint her dress all the same color, not try to get fancy. Now, it looks like I did forget to paint the pie plate, so I will come back and do that after I do her dress. Her dress has just a little ruffled sleeve right here. Okay. Now, one thing I'm going to do is take a little bit of this and completely dry it out. And we're going to see if we can't give her some little rosy cheeks without totally screwing her up. Okay, now I'm going to let that dry, and then I'll go over it with a little bit of the gray, and she'll have some little, just some coloration to her face there. Yeah, oh, that looks nice. I love it. Okay, the last thing, I'm just going to do those pie plates. We'll hit this with a heat gun real quick, and then we'll die cut our pieces and be ready to put our card together. So I'm going to use this kind of, let's see, I'm going to use this medium just to do the pie plates right down there. Okay. Okay. All right, I think I'm liking that better than my first one. I like the coloring, just I like having that green behind her better than the orange. All right. I hope that y'all will give this a try. You know, watercoloring is something you just have to practice with until you learn to manipulate the water. And I'm no expert. I can't just take like a blank piece of paper and paint like a beautiful scene or anything. I just like to watercolor images, and you know, you just have to not be afraid to try, and some of them will turn out well, some of them not as well, and you just you get better as you practice and learn to manipulate the water. That's really all it's about. So I hope you don't let it intimidate you. Just go for it and have fun with it. Okay, I'm going to hit this real quick with the heat gun because I'm going to have to die cut this, and I don't want it to smudge anything. Sometimes when I go on vacation, I will take stamped and embossed images with me. I just make like lots of them, and then I take my watercolors and my paintbrushes, and when my husband's reading a book, I'll just sit and I will watercolor, and I find it very just a relaxing and just practicing. So okay, let's go ahead and die cut these. And this is why I chose not to make the flowers with you today, only because I really wanted to spend my time on the watercolor. I had several people say they enjoyed the watercolor videos, so I didn't want to rush through that. And maybe on another project someday I'll come back and I'll make the Oakberry, but it's a very simple flower to make. So all right, I'll go ahead and run this through, and then we're going to do our other two sections. You'll hear my machine. So today's video will probably be a little bit longer than normal because of the watercoloring. So I hope that some of you will stick with me to get this one finished. So 9 times out of 10, probably 10 times out of 10, I forget to ask you to give me a thumbs up and a like at the end of the video. It really helps my channel if you'll do that, and I almost always forget to ask. So while I'm thinking of it, it would be great if you enjoy this video, please do hit that thumbs up. And I'm not going to worry about this. It looks like my die shifted while it was in I didn't have it taped down quite enough. So it left, and I'm just going to go ahead and cut the butterfly and the worm off of there because they're going to be covered up anyway. So, okay. On these other pieces, I'll tape it down better. So we're going to cut out the windows, and then we're also going to come back and cut out our little girl. Okay, with this watercolor paper and using new tape, I just have to be real careful as I remove it, because it'll pull up my paper, but it'll pull up my heat embossing, the gold, and I really don't want to lose that. Okay, if I go real slow, it's not doing too bad. There we go. All right, we did 3 successful. Let's see if we can get the 4th one. There we go. All right. All right, so I'll go ahead and take out our windows. There we go. Now I am not going to poke out these pieces. They do die cut out, but I'm going to leave them in there. I'm done with these 2. And now we're going to go ahead and die cut. I'm going to call her Grandma. Whoops, I have this upside down. There we go. My grandma had a reputation for making really good pie, so I just can't help it. When I look at this little image, I think of my grandmother. There we go. Do y'all make pie anymore? My mom still makes pies, but I think I'm better at eating hers than I am at making my own. Sometimes it's just too easy to swing by like Cracker Barrel or House of Pies and pick up a pie. Here in Texas, we have a place called the House of Pie, and they have some cherry pie that is some of the best I've ever had in my life. So it's hard to dirty up my kitchen when I can go get a slice. Okay, let's go ahead and gently pop her out. I'm being real gentle because there's some really small places right there where that connects. Can you see that? So I don't want to break any of those. Okay, so we have our house. I'm going to take just a little bit of double-sided adhesive and put it on the back of these windows so that they don't come I don't want those little windows coming out. So I'm just going to tape them in there. Okay. All right, there we go. Now I'm going to come in with some of our really thin pieces of foam, and we're going to put foam on the back of these 2 pieces. I have to pull that piece up just a little bit so I can get this to stick. Okay. Okay. Same over here. Let's do one more on the back of our grandma. Oops. All right, I think we are ready to put it all together. Get these dies out of the way. We've got our flowers. All right. Okay, go ahead and move these. Now I will have to turn my hot glue gun on in order to put down the flowers at the end. This, of course, would be glued onto a 6x6 square card base. I have not made my card base yet, but it would go on a 6x6 card base. So once you get the watercoloring done and the die cutting done, it's going to come together very quickly. Now, if you wanted to, you could have popped this section up. There we go. Go ahead and turn on my glue gun while I put the acorn house down. Okay. I'm going to lay it out and kind of decide how I want it before I start gluing down. Because my sentiment for this one, I pulled in a couple dies, and this says always thankful, and I was thinking of popping them up and putting them right up here because I kind of wanted this one to be a Thanksgiving card. So let's see, what sizes do I have? That about right here. I wish I had another medium one. I don't have. This one will be okay. All right, I think I like that. I kind of like the purples. You can see the acorn a little better. All right. Let's go ahead and take the windows out there. Okay. Now I have found that to get my watercolor paper, this is Arches cold press watercolor paper, to really get it to hold down to this lacy part, I had to put quite a bit of glue on it. It kept wanting to pop back up. I really like the colors that the acorn came this time. Remember when I first put down that first dark brown and it almost looked black over there? Can't tell it at all. Watercoloring can be very forgiving. Get it on. Just set that right down in its little spot. And I really like the way she came out this time as well. Yeah. All right. So before I go any further, I'm going to go ahead and put some foam on the back of my sentiment. I'm going to use this same stuff here so that it's the same height as the other bits. Now there were several other super cute little squirrels that come in the set. I think I'm going to move it like that. That I thought, you know, adding another squirrel over here might be a nice option. Now we're just going to add, oh, don't you run out of glue now. that happens too often. But I am prepared. I've got a glue stick right here. I'm going to cut it in half. It'll still hang out the end, but okay. I'm going to kind of slide this one to tuck it over inside. Put those, and then let's see. Now I do have these two little acorns that I'm going to put right up here, and I totally forgot I wanted to add just a little bit of shape to them. Okay. And I'm going to pop them up a little bit as well. Right over here. And let's see. That's good. All right, there we go. What do you think? Do you like it in the purples? Or do you like it better in the golds? There's just things I like about both of them. I think I like the thank you sentiment a little better. I'm not sure I like the reflective material underneath the always thankful. I like the words. I'm just not sure about the chrome back there. I think I would have liked it better if I'd made it a different color. But overall, I love the water. I like the watercoloring better on this one. I like that green behind her rather than the orange. But there we go. I just loved making this card. Every time I watercolor, I'm like, oh, I'm going to just watercolor all my cards. But, okay, I'll go ahead and switch back my camera. Thank you so much for joining me today. I know I kind of rattled on, and this card was mostly just about the watercoloring, but I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did enjoy it, please give it a thumbs up. And I love it when you comment. I look forward to just hearing from each one of you whenever you make comment there. So I hope you have a lovely day, and I cannot wait to craft with you again. Coming up on Monday will be a Monday mix-up, and on Thursday I'll be live over on Whimsy Stamps YouTube channel, so you can catch me over there as well. All right, have a great day. Bye-bye.